Putting up a story building is really good because it helps you to save land and maximize the use of your land. But then there are certain mistakes that a lot of people make when they are building a story building, which results in something like this. If you decide to build a story building in Ghana, here are some common mistakes to avoid. The first one is the choice of location. Choosing a bad location for your story building will greatly affect your story building project. You should select a site that is suitable for the size, design, and function of your story building. So you don't want to put your story building in a place which is waterlogged. You also don't want to put your story building in a place where the soil is going to collapse. And so you need to ensure that you do soil sample tests before you even purchase the land, if you do intend to put up a story building on that parcel of land. You should also consider the availability of utilities, infrastructure, amenities, and services in the area. Now again, you should avoid places that are prone to flooding. We made a dedicated video about areas to avoid buying land in Accra because those places are prone to flooding. I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video. So like this video, and then when you're done, watch that video as well. Then again, you should avoid places which are earthquake zones or tend to have natural hazards. So places next to a factory where there's a lot of pollution, earthquake zones. If you just do a Google search of earthquake zones. So avoid places which have earthquake zones or which have been labeled as earthquake zones in Accra or Ghana. The next mistake I see a lot of people making when it comes to putting up story buildings is not hiring experts or people who have the needed expertise, especially when it comes to structural engineering, the load, and then even the soil sample test. People want to build houses, they have their dream homes in their minds, but then they don't know that when it comes to putting up story buildings, it's a different ball game altogether. For when it comes to iron rods, you can't just buy the normal iron rods. There are different sizes of iron rods, and then there are different tensile strengths of iron rods. Which one do you need for your story building? The masons sometimes want to help you cut costs, so they'll say, oh, we can use 12 millimeters, we can use 14 millimeters, but you need to consider the load that is going to go on the project and make an informed decision. If you are doing multi-complex story buildings, mild steel iron rods will not cut it. You will need high tensile iron rods. Today, a ton of high tensile iron rods is about 9,800, whilst the mild steel is selling between 6,000 to 8,000 cedi. So people may want cut cost, but that is when you get to have all these issues. I said if you want cut cost, you may end up paying multiples of the cost you were hoping to cut. You should hire reputable and reliable professionals who have the expertise and experience in building story buildings in Ghana. You should also check their credentials, references, portfolios, and reviews before hiring them. You should avoid hiring amateurs, fraudsters, people who don't have any track record. For example, if you come to us, the people who do our projects have worked on huge real estate projects in Ghana, huge ones. Now, putting up a story building is like buying a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Those are specialized types of cars. You will not send your Lamborghini or your Ferrari to a Toyota dealer by the roadside somewhere at Ashoman Estate or Kaswa or Kumasi Swami Magazine to work on it for you. No, you want the expert. You probably take it to the dealer, you take it to the manufacturer to work on it for you. For example, if you purchase a Tesla and bring it to Ghana, you can't take it to a normal mechanic by the roadside to do it for you. The car is expensive. You need to maintain it well. You need to make sure that the right people are working on it. Even for the Toyota and the things, you probably want to take it to Toyota Ghana and those people to check for you. They have the tools, they have the right parts and all. It's the same way when you're putting up a story building. It's a more expensive investment than putting up a normal bungalow styled house. And so you want to make sure that if your money is going to it, you are giving it the proper attention and care it deserves by giving it to experts to handle for you. This cannot be overemphasized. Again, another mistake I've seen people making when it comes to putting up story buildings is they don't plan and design their buildings properly. You should plan and design your story building according to your needs, preferences, budget, and goals. You should also follow the building code, standards, and regulations in Ghana. You should avoid making changes or alterations to your plan or design without consulting with your professionals or authorities. So somebody started out with a normal bungalow styled house. Then later they say they want to turn it it into a story building. Then they just remove the roof, do decking, floor it, and then are building on top of it. Are you serious? You are putting your life, your family, whoever will come and live in that structure at risk, because the permit you acquired for a normal house is different from a permit you acquire for a story building. The level of soil sample test you do for a normal house is different from that of a story building. The excavation, the foundation, the depth of the foundation for a story building is completely different from that of a normal house. If the columns of the normal house were made with 14mm iron rods and you want to put a story building on it, you probably need 16-20mm iron rods, high tensile and things. Let's avoid these things where you had one plan for the building, then later you come, you'll be using hammer and chisel, bang, 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 breaking the things and doing extra rooms and putting things that were never intended. No, Charlie, you are taking too many risks. So that is another mistake I've seen a lot of people making. Another mistake I've seen people make when it comes to story buildings is that they don't monitor and they don't supervise the projects effectively. What do I mean? You know, when it comes to a story building, there are certain elements that have certain duration that you cannot skip. And so if you don't have a project manager or you're not using a contractor or a consultant to help you build, you're going to realize that when you do your foundation and you need to wait for like 21 days for it to cure and all that, you do your floor, you need to wait for it to cure. If you don't plan it properly, it's going to happen during the rainy season. If it happens during the rainy season, it is going to take longer for your concrete to cure, your columns and things. It's going to affect the overall structural integrity. Again, if it happens during the rainy season, the artisans may not be able to work effectively. They may come, they intended to work for 10 hours, 5 hours, the rain comes in, they can't work again. And with story buildings, it's going to take a longer time than the normal traditional houses that we were building. And so inflation is going to hit your project with time. So if you don't monitor, you are going to end up in that situation where you start the building and you are unable to complete it. Like the Bible says in Luke 14:28-30, where somebody wanted to put up a story building, but didn't count the cost. And at a point after doing the foundation, they didn't have any money to continue. So planning is key for you to complete a story building. I've seen too many projects that have been left uncompleted with bushes growing in the uncompleted project. Like sometimes even trees are growing in it. If you've seen some before, comment below. Like, it's crazy. So you need to plan. I'm not saying all those projects that people didn't plan. Sometimes people die, sometimes people lose interest, sometimes litigation, and sometimes people travel outside the country. But then proper planning will help you avoid poor performance. You should set realistic timelines, budgets, and expectations for your project. You should also monitor the progress, quality, and safety of your project regularly. You should avoid delays, overspending, or underperforming on your project. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. You can also leave your comments on some of the mistakes that people have made or you yourself made. And then we made a dedicated video on comparing story buildings versus normal buildings, the advantages, disadvantages, which one should you go for over here. So click on this video and I will see you over there. Thanks, Bebre.